But let's be honest here. A recession is not a fun time. So during a recession, you might get high unemployment. People are losing their jobs left and right. The cost of goods and services goes up very quickly and very high. And overall, in the economy, companies and industries produce less goods and services. And which can, in turn, be tied to the fact that they have less employees because they cannot afford to hire more. And they cannot afford to hire more people because their expenses are much higher now because of inflation or other factors. So that's basically what a recession is. Just a slowdown in the economy. Inflation might be going higher. People might be losing their jobs, or it's very hard to get a job. And the cost of goods, are rising. So less goods and services are being produced because people cannot even afford them. And when that happens, the economy slows down. And if it's very bad enough, people can even call it a depression. A recession and a depression are basically the same thing, but they just differ in severity. You've probably read the title of this video, and you're wondering, well, Karamoko, why should I not be afraid of a recession? Well, sure. I'm not gonna lie, I won't sugarcoat it. A recession can be very bad. People can lose their jobs, as I mentioned before. The cost of goods and services will go up, and which in turn, makes your life more expensive to live. Because something that might have cost you $1,000 a few months ago now costs $1,200. And you might not necessarily be making any more money. So yes, a recession can be very bad, but it's also very natural. The way our economic system is built, the way it works, it's inevitable. A recession will happen. This is not the first time we've heard the terms recession, depression, save yourself, find a bunker, hide, recession's coming. But the only people who should be afraid of a recession are people who don't have good money habits. People who have indebted themselves a lot. People who are in bad financial, situations. If you follow me on this channel, chances are you care about your, personal finances, you want to invest, you want to become better. The reason why I think you should not be afraid of recessions is because you should think of it as an opportunity. I'm sure you've heard the expression that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. The more you know, the more money you make. And I'll give you a really big tip right here. Rich people have assets, poor people hold liabilities. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. And a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. For example, a property, let's say a rental property, okay? That's a house you own. That's a great example I like to use because a property can both be a liability and an asset. A property is an asset when you earn money from it. So if you put someone in there and rent it out or, make an Airbnb out of it, it's an asset because it's putting money in your pocket. It can also be an asset because it appreciates in value over time. So you may have purchased it at $100,000 in year one, and in year two, the home is now worth $200,000. But that same property can also be a liability. Say, for instance, you decide to buy a house and you live in there. It's a liability because you're paying mortgage insurance. You're paying your, monthly mortgage bill in itself too. You're paying the cost to fix the roof and all of the bills and stuff that come with owning a house. And a house will not always appreciate in value. There will be times where it will depreciate in value during a recession per se. But what I'm trying to say is if you net a positive from something you own, it's an asset. But if you net negative from something, it's a liability. One of the biggest liabilities out there are cars. Unless you're an Uber driver, your car is a liability because you got to pay that insurance, you got to pay for gas. If you have a loan on there, you got to pay every single month for the car and the interest that you're being charged on that loan. So during a recession, the poor get poorer because they hold all of these liabilities. They have cars, they have bills, they have subscriptions, they have Gucci wallets, they have Fendi backpacks, or all of that stuff that does not put any money in their pockets. They only have things that take money out of their pocket. They have high credit card debt, high interest loans, and a bunch of other stuff that they do not need, or they put themselves in a position where they'll get poorer in economic downturns. And then those liabilities do not go away because a lot of the times they're obligations. You have to pay your rent, otherwise you're out. You have to pay your car note, otherwise it gets repoed. You have to pay for food, otherwise you'll starve. But let's look at the rich and the wealthy. The economy is in a downturn right now, okay? They're already well off, but they keep cash, they keep assets, they have properties, they own things that put money in their pocket. And when the prices of things go down due to a recession or anything that might be going on in their market, they take advantage to purchase more assets. They buy homes for pennies on the dollar. They buy stocks, crypto maybe, anything that could be an asset. They stock up on assets so that when the recession ends and the economy does a U-turn back to the upside, not only will those assets be valued more because now people have money, they're getting hired, they're buying goods and services, prices goes up. They bought it for cheap. They're buying homes, renting them out, they're buying stocks, they're buying a bunch of things that will put money in their pockets for a lot cheaper. So when the economy does a U-turn, they get richer because now they have more assets, they have more passive income, they're in a much better place than you. And they're in a much better place than probably when they even started. Most definitely. So with that mindset, with that knowledge, with that understanding of how the economy works, of how you should be financially stable, even if you have a job, that's totally fine, because if anything happens, those liabilities do not go away. They stay there. If you can't make money, the liabilities won't just pack up and leave. They'll stay, but you will not be earning either the same amount of money or any money at all. But that's why the rich get richer and the poor tend to get poorer. So here are 5 tips just for you. These 5 things right here will almost make you want a recession to come so that you can stock up on assets, because when the economy does that U-turn, you will be in a much better place because you took advantage of that reset. So these 5 tips right here, listen to them very carefully. They're very important. So here goes. Tip number 1. Pretty straightforward, but keep yourself accountable for anything that comes in and out of your bank account. If you make $2,000 every month and your bills or your expenses come out to $1,500, you save $500 per month. Try to maximize that. Eliminate things you don't need. If they're not absolutely necessary, just don't have them. I'm not saying live in a hut somewhere. I'm saying limit your expenses. Try not to indulge in things that don't matter. If it brings you happiness, by all means, but do not indulge in things that will not bring you happiness or will not put money back into your pocket. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, diversify your income. You need to have multiple streams of income. Most wealthy and rich people out there, sure, they might have earned a chunk of change from one particular venture they have, one particular business they have, but they always branch out into other avenues. Have rental properties, invest in a business, dividend stocks. Earn money in different ways, because when one fails, you can rely on the others. Tip number 3, use credit, debt and loans in general responsibly. Don't just use your credit card for everything if you don't have it in your bank account. Because again, debt is a liability. There's such thing as good debt and bad debt. So know the difference between good debt and bad debt. Don't just be buying Gucci purses, Louis scarves, and off-white shoes. Sure, I mean, if you're Bill Gates, go for it. You got nothing to lose. But they didn't get to where they are by doing that. They got to where they got to by being financially smart, making the right moves, taking the right business decisions, cutting expenses and maximizing their assets, reinvesting in their craft. Ditch all the liabilities, focus on getting assets. That's the difference. That's the main difference between the poor and the rich. Number 5 is build an emergency fund, because you never know what's gonna happen. Say for instance, all of your side hustles, side businesses, all of your streams of income, for some reason, even though it's pretty damn near impossible, if you have so many streams of income, if all of them were to get cut out for any reason, have an emergency fund that you can rely on. Because if you're not earning any money, those liabilities, again, they're not going anywhere. But what I'm trying to say is always have that safety net. It's important not to have too much in your safety net fund, because that's also money that could be invested to cover your living expenses for at least, let's say, half a year. Tip number 5, and this is probably the most important: keep investing in yourself, because no investment will give you a greater return than one made in yourself. And with that being said, that's pretty much everything I want to talk to you guys about today. Thank you so much for watching. If this helped you out in any way, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. Yeah, follow me on Instagram for more of my face. And